Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another Five Nights at Freddy video. This video is a basic intro to Five Nights at Freddy, also known as FNAF. It was specifically made for my friend who knows almost nothing about FNAF, but has a daughter who loves FNAF. I'm going to be focusing first on the progression of the FNAF games, and then I will talk about the lore. I'm not going to focus too much about the books and the movies unless it's really relevant to the lore, though they are mentioned and cited within the video. I will try to give as little spoilers as possible, but it is not 100% spoiler-free. Sorry. So in the beginning, there was Scott Cawthon, a video game developer from Utah. Scott wasn't doing very well with his family-friendly games, and at one point he made a game called Chipper and Sons Lumber Company back in 2013. Some people thought that the figures in this game were a little bit scary. As Scott put it, I had made a family-friendly game about a beaver, but it was criticized online. People said the main character looked like a scary animatronic. Then something in me snapped and I thought to myself, I bet I could make something a lot scarier than that. And then he did. Five Nights at Freddy came out in 2014. In the game, the player is a nighttime security guard, Mike Schmidt, at the family pizza restaurant Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. There's another security guard referred to by fans as Phone Guy that calls in and gives the player some insights into what to do to win the game and why things might be the way they are in the game. The player must survive the night by checking the cameras and shutting doors against the animatronics that are wandering the halls and will kill you if they find you. Specifically, the threat is that they will think you are an animatronic that got out of the costume, and then they will stuff you into one, thereby killing you. And you can't just keep the doors locked because the doors require power to stay shut, and you have a limited supply of power. Survive 5 nights and you win the game, and can then choose to play additional nights. This game became very popular in part thanks to YouTubers like Markiplier, who played the game in his YouTube videos, and also MatPat, who started theorizing about what is going on in the game. Things like, why are the animatronics walking around? And, oh hey, this newspaper clipping says that these kids went missing. What is that about? Theorizing about what is the in-game history and events that would lead to the in-game scenarios has created what fans refer to as game lore. Markiplier and MatPat continued to do this throughout the years as the games came out. FNAF 1 gives you the main animatronics: Freddy, Chica with her cupcake, Bonnie, Foxy, and the mysterious Golden Freddy. Anyway, FNAF became really popular, so later that same year, here comes FNAF 2. Again, the player is a nighttime security guard, Jeremy Fitzgerald this time, who's trying not to get killed by roaming animatronics and getting instructions from Phone Guy. Quickly, fans noticed that this game was actually a prequel to the first one, but I'll get more into that later. In this game, you survive by shining lights at the animatronics, hiding in a Freddy mask, checking air vents, and playing a music box. Survive 5 nights, and then you get to play another night as a different security guard, Fritz Smith. Not that it really matters in the game what your name is, but that's all lore stuff. The animatronics in this game are somewhat recognizable, but they are called the toy version. So it's Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica. You also get Mangled Foxy, Balloon Boy, and the Marionette. In 2015, FNAF 3 comes out. Again, you are a nighttime security guard, this time for a place called Fazbear's Frights. There is only one animatronic that you have to watch out for, this gross-looking one called Springtrap. You also have to keep restarting vents and stuff to keep from hallucinating other original animatronics. FNAF 4 also came out in 2015, and is probably one of the most heavily disputed ones in regards to lore. It's a huge departure from the other games as far as gameplay. This time, the player is a boy hiding in his room from nightmare versions of the familiar animatronics. Gameplay is basically trying to not get attacked by closing doors and using a flashlight. These are the animatronics. Like I mentioned, they are referred to as Nightmare Freddy, Nightmare Chica, and so on. FNAF 5 is called Sister Location, came out in 2015. In this game, the player is a late-night technician for the animatronic rental company Circus Babies Entertainment and Rental. Newly introduced animatronics include Circus Baby, Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy, and Ballora. In 2017, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator was released. The player gets to build their own pizzeria by buying several items to put into it. As the nights go on, you also find various withered animatronics in the alley, and you bring them inside if you want to, and then you have to make sure that they don't kill you. And then the last game and the main part of the series is Ultimate Custom Night. Gameplay is custom, where you can choose which animatronics are loose in the pizzeria while you try to survive the 5 nights. After this, Scott Cawthon started to partner with game studios, and the games became a lot bigger. The first of which is FNAF Help Wanted, which came out in 2019. This game is in virtual reality. The player is testing VR minigames for the company Fazbear Entertainment, which is trying to rebuild the brand despite all the rumors of dead children in its past. There are no real animatronics, but we do get a new antagonist, Glitchtrap. Glitchtrap just exists in the VR space. He's not a real animatronic walking around. In 2021, FNAF Security Breach was released. The player is a boy named Gregory who is trapped overnight at the Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex and has to survive until it reopens. Gregory is helped by Glamrock Freddy and has to avoid Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Monty Gator, Roxanne Roxy Wolf, and the nighttime security guard Vanessa, who sometimes appears in a bunny costume and is referred to as Vanny. In 2023, there was a mini-sequel to this game called Ruin. The player is a girl named Cassie who goes into the now-closed Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex to rescue Gregory with the help of a bunny AR mask. But it turns out it wasn't Gregory calling for help. It was a new, to the audience, animatronic called the Mimic. FNAF Help Wanted 2 also came out in 2023. This was also a VR game like Part 1, but it's mostly just a collection of minigames featuring the Security Breach animatronics. In 2024, the latest game, FNAF Secrets of the Mimic, came out. This one is another prequel taking place, theoretically, before all of the games in the FNAF series. The player is a technician named Arnold who is sent to Murray's Costume Manor to pick something up. The main antagonist is the Mimic, and there are some other antagonistic animatronics. I'm not going to list them all, there are too many, and some of them are just the Mimic in different costumes. Along with the main games, there are a few other games that came out, but do not follow the main storyline and are not considered canon, even though sometimes fans who theorize the lore will pull from these other games. There was also a bunch of books that also don't necessarily make sense altogether in the canon, but the fans still pull things from, and sometimes things... I'm getting confused. I'm not confused, but this is confusing. On top of all that, there are the 2 movies that came out, and again, like the books, like the other games, fans draw from them to support their lore theories, but they're not necessarily part of the canon. The lore. Alright, so now that we're finished with the easy part of the video, let's talk about the lore. As I mentioned in my other FNAF video, each part of FNAF, the games, books, movies, interviews with Scott Cawthon, add pieces to the lore that fans try to piece together. But it's basically impossible to come up with theories that connect everything perfectly, though I may have my own theory that does. It's all canon, and I'm not going to explain that. The lore of FNAF is mostly, but not exclusively, based on interpreting cutscenes in between the main gameplay, although there are usually clues in the game itself. There are some other things that I personally accept as canon, which are based on unused game files that people found in the source code, but are not in the actual gameplay. So bear with me, I'm going to make this as quick and painless as possible, while still being open to all the theories. Back in about 1970s-ish, there was a company called Fazbear Entertainment that was run by William Afton and Henry Emily. In 1979, they contracted Murray's Costume Manor for some work. The company was run by a man named Edwin Murray, who became the owner when his father passed away. Edwin was an inventor and probably invented a thing called the spring lock suits. Spring lock suits are very integral to the game, so I will explain. A spring lock suit is, now imagine a combination of a mascot uniform and the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. A person can put themselves inside this metal endoskeleton that is inside the mascot suit, and then they can walk around with it. Then they can take off the suit, and then that middle part where the ribs are will spring lock, if you will, into place inside of the costume, creating a more traditional animatronic like Chuck E. Cheese. So you get two things in one. Moving on, it looks like Edwin created the Mimic that can mimic various characters in the costume and Fazbear universe. It's kind of an AI system. And then when Edwin's wife passes away, it looks like that animatronic was helping to raise his child, and to the point that it started mimicking his wife's voice and personality. It also looks like Edwin created a second Mimic, but this one was evil. Also, it looks like Henry and William were being complete dicks to Edwin on the contract, and they were purposefully demanding too much, poaching the employees, probably planning a takeover. So when Edwin died, they just stole Edwin's animatronics, his blueprints, and took over the costume company. Theoretically dead. The Mimics theoretically killed Edwin. So after this, Fazbear Entertainment is moving along, kind of looks like the Chuck E. Cheese that you're probably seeing. And they're doing pretty good. They have multiple locations. I'm not sure if at this point they have multiple locations, but they will eventually, if they don't already, have multiple locations. Then in 1983, a young boy, referred to as the Crying Child, is put into the mouth of the Golden Freddy animatronic by his older brother wearing a foxy mask and his brother's friends. The animatronic malfunctions, which results in the boy's death. This is called the Bite of 83. FNAF lore theorizes that this boy and his brother were the sons of William Afton, the boy in the foxy mask being Michael. So here the timeline gets a little bit muddy because William Afton murdered a bunch of children. At some point, it looks like William Afton probably killed Charlotte, aka Charlie, which is the daughter of his business partner, Henry Emily. William, because of the way he's showed here in this minigame in purple pixels, is known among fans as Purple Guy. Charlie's soul ends up inside the marionette puppet. FNAF lore also has the marionette, possessed by Charlotte, to be the one that guides the souls of the other children that William killed into the bodies of the other animatronics. Theoretically, into the animatronics that William Afton had shoved their bodies into. So like I said, it's a little unclear what happened when. At this point in the timeline, we're after 1983 and presumably before 1987. William Afton would have killed several children and hidden them inside the bodies of the animatronics. And though someone was arrested for these missing children, the bodies were never found. In 1987, presumably the night security guard at the time, Jeremy Fitzgerald, gets his frontal lobe damaged by one of the animatronics. This is called the Bite of 87. And then around somewhere in this time, William makes a new animatronic, Circus Baby, for a different restaurant location. Circus Baby is designed to kill more children, but accidentally ends up killing his own daughter, Elizabeth. Again, at some point after this, William Afton was lured to his death by the children he killed. He tried to evade them by getting into the Golden Bonnie springlock suit, which then malfunctioned. These things are notorious for malfunctioning, which ends up killing him. His body, still in the suit, was boarded off from the rest of the building. Now, somewhere in this timeline, Michael Afton, now older, goes to the sister location to look for Circus Baby Elizabeth. He ends up getting scooped meaning his insides were scooped out, and then a new endoskeleton called Ennard, which is a combination of a few of the animatronics, possesses Michael and then walks around in its new Michael suit until the body decomposes too much for them to walk around without drawing the attention of the people in the area. Yes, I know he's turning purple like William Afton is purple, but just trust me, bro, it's Michael. Once it leaves Michael's body, Michael somehow survives and gets up and continues on. Now, FNAF 1 takes place in the 90s, but at this point, 20 years later, according to the game, we are now in about 2023 for what was FNAF 3. There are people who make a new haunted attraction called Fazbear Frights. They find the spring-lock suit with William's corpse in it, but somehow they didn't check the suit, so they just drag it over to be a stop on the tour or decoration on the tour. But of course, William is a zombie or something. He always comes back. Just keep that in mind. It's a thing he says. I always come back. Anyway, the point is, he's not dead either, so he just gets up and walks out, I guess. At this time, again, around Fazbear Frights, whoever the player is, whether it's a random security guard or the theorized Michael Afton, manages to free the souls of the children that are trapped in the original animatronic suits. This leads us to Pizzeria Simulator. Now, theoretically, the player is Michael, who is working at this pizzeria on purpose, trying to find his father. This new Fazbear location is also attracting the attention of the other animatronics that apparently were just wandering around the city or something. That includes Circus Baby, Springtrap, and the new one called Lefty. Surprise! This Fazbear place was started by Henry Emily, who used it as a trap for William Afton and as a way to destroy not just William, but all the other killer animatronics. Henry explains to the player about the trap, believing that the player, Michael, will also prefer to die here with everybody else, including himself. Henry says that he hopes all the souls are released and that William Afton goes straight to hell. And so that's what Ultimate Custom Night Game is. Theoretically, it is William Afton in hell being constantly attacked by his own creations. Now, that would have been the end of the story, but oh no, not all the computers were destroyed, and one of the hard drives had some form of malware program on it. Probably the Mimic. We don't know that yet, but... So when whoever owns Fazbear now makes a VR game using partial stuff recovered from the hard drive, this malware, referred to as Glitch Trap, takes over the brain of an employee named Vanessa, who is testing the game and is probably theoretically also another child of William Afton. Maybe. She escapes this mental takeover brainwashing with the help of Gregory and Glamrock Freddy, I guess. She also maybe makes some software security to keep the Mimic contained. I'm not 100% sure how the Mimic is back, because we were talking 1979, and at this point we are in the late 2020s as far as the lore goes, but I think it has something to do with how these places seem to be built on top of each other. Now, this is a fan drawing. It can't possibly be this way, but it just seems that as you're playing the game, some games you go down to like the basement and there's another pizzeria down there that looks familiar. Unfortunately, Cassie releases the Mimic. And that is the end so far. FNAF Ruin, which was the last in the timeline, had different endings, so which one is canon is just a theory, at least for now. That should be enough to let you watch other videos that will probably either contradict me or sound way more confident in what is going on than I am. Now, this last bit I'm going to show you is a FNAF jump scare. because how can you go through an entire FNAF video without ever experiencing a jump scare?